Jeremy, Simon, welcome to Love to See It. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh my gosh, we're
I
excited.
appreciate I appreciate all the love you guys gave me during the season. It
Oh, you
didn't go
saw that?
unnoticed. I did see
Oh,
it.
I see why you wanted to come on the pod now. You were like, they will pander to me, and I like
Yeah.
that.
Whenever there's
It-
a New York contestant, we are just shamelessly biased. So
Yeah.
you came to the right place.
Who else have you had on from New York?
Over the years, a few different people, a lot of people go to LA. So, we're spurned.
I know. Yeah, I guess we had Chelsea on
Yeah,
a
back
couple
in the
years
day.
ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Excited to have you. So I think we really needed to start with the most important question, which is tied to why we were intrigued by you to begin with.
Okay.
You have a Catskills Airbnb
I
called
do.
Morning Wood. We need to discuss it. What was behind that name? How did it come to you?
Great name, no?
Yeah, it's
I mean, it really
evocative.
evokes something.
Yeah, it really erects something in the mind.
But it's pastoral as well.
I actually used to work for a company that managed short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and they would always name each of their properties. So when I decided to buy one, I was like, oh, I should really name it. And I could never think of anything. And then one night I was falling asleep, like right when you're in that stage of like you're about to fall asleep, and it just popped in my mind. I'm like, that couldn't be more perfect. Because
You're like, it's genius. It's
it's
inspired. It
yeah,
means so many things.
yeah, mountains, woody.
Yeah.
It might be a little joke.
It works both ways. That's the genius.
Yeah.
So we almost rented it for research, and we still might.
You can get a discount. No, please.
That's why I brought it up. But we also, like, when we were looking at your bio, I remember that we thought you seemed like a pretty regular guy to us. I mean, we're two New York women. You seemed like a more familiar type of guy than so many of the sort of ex-pro athletes who are launching personal training apps and like live in Tucson. So we were like, oh, Jeremy seems like our kind of guy.
I don't look like an athlete to you.
I didn't say you didn't look like an athlete. I said you didn't, to my knowledge, you were not an athlete.
Yeah,
Definitely
unless
not,
we
no.
missed something.
Unless
You
we missed
could
something.
be a former professional baseball player and we didn't realize.
Yeah.
No, that's Austin for you guys. That's not me.
I once dated a semi-professional ultimate frisbee player. There's so many.
That's more
So
my
many
that's
types.
more my speed of athlete, I think.
That is an Olympic sport.
It's a very valid and important sport. So
No, but yeah.
not to judge.
Some would say I'm too regular for the show.
I mean, how did you feel when you went on the show? Did you feel like, oh, of course I'm on The Bachelor. I'm a classic Bachelor contestant, or did you feel like you were a little bit out of the norm amid the guys in the mansion?
No, I still don't. It's sometimes hard to believe because like I grew up as like this overweight kid, and I was like me walking into the Bachelor mansion. Like the idea to me is still kind of crazy, where you sort of have to pinch yourself. But I walk in and everyone is like this 6'5" athlete, like you were saying. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. Happy to
And
be here though.
You were like, I will be pivoting to be a fitness entrepreneur shortly.
Yeah.
Uh,
I am a certified personal trainer. I just don't really say
I mean,
it.
well,
it's like
now
how
it all
women on the
makes sense.
yeah, women on The Bachelor are always models, and you don't find out until later. Men are always certified personal trainers, and you don't find out until later.
Yeah, we'll
So
find out now.
how did you end up on The Bachelorette? Had you watched the show before? Did you apply?
So I never watched the show until I was like deep into the interview process, and they were like, "You should probably watch it and see how
Like,
it
do
works."
some research,
It
Jeremy.
was entertaining though. The first season I watched was Michelle Young's season. It was on Hulu, and
Great
I actually really
season.
liked it. And so I was actually nominated for the show, which most people are reached out to through Instagram. I was not. A friend in Boston had nominated me. I saw the application. I thought it was hilarious. I was like, yeah, like go for it.
What was your relationship with Jen like from your perspective? Like, did you feel an immediate connection, or were you surprised when she seemed interested in you? Like, how did that kind of evolve and take flight?
I think I'm confident enough to say I was not surprised when she was interested in me. But to answer your question, I had no idea what it would be like, and after the first night, I was like, okay, she seems like a cool person, but it's not like, oh, I'm into you. Like, so it started off as like a don't know, not into you, not into you, and then it definitely progressed as the weeks went on. I think they actually showed a clip in the third episode where I told her I have a little crush on her, which is like, because that's what it's like. It's like a crush, and then you like them, and then you really like them, and then you're falling for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The steps of falling in love on The Bachelor.
On The
You
Bachelor,
added
yeah.
crush. Usually
Yeah.
people just go right to, I could be falling for you.
Yeah.
I can see myself falling for you. I like crush though. That feels more accurate to the actual experience, especially at
That's
the
what it was.
beginning when
Yeah.
you're really like you have 5 minutes a night with her.
Yeah, and especially I think how I was, presented on the show. A lot of people didn't even know who I was until later on. I mean, you're laughing, but it's true.
We were paying close attention
Yeah, no, I
for the
appreciate that.
record.
Which is cool. They'll show it however they want. I do think we had so many great conversations, so it wasn't much of a surprise to me, as much as it was to maybe the audience of like how I ended at the show,
Sure.
or like how far I went, I should say.
Yeah, that makes sense. You felt pretty early on like, okay, there's something of substance here between me and Jen. So
Yeah, and like I wasn't concerned at all that I didn't have a one-on-one until the end. I was super confident in us the whole time.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. One moment that really stood out to both of us from your time on the season was the conversation that you and Jen had about interfaith dating on your one-on-one date. You spoke really openly about your ties to your Jewish identity and culture and history, and Jen did the same about her Buddhist identity and culture. Was that a topic that you knew going into that date that you wanted to bring up to Jen?
No, so first off, I didn't go into any conversation with a plan. Whether that was a good idea or not, who knows, but I didn't. I wasn't even sure that was going to be shown because there were other stuff. It's a long date. You
Of
talk
course.
about other stuff about family, about, the leap of faith into marriage. So, when they aired that, I was like, oh, great. But I was not expecting that. But I think it was a super powerful conversation. And I know it was received well. I know your guys' post got millions of views on it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you guys for that. But yeah, no, it's important because I mean Judaism. I don't go to temple every week, but I went to Jewish day school growing up. Judaism is very much intertwined with like culture and especially family for me. So it's an important conversation to have. Like if you're seriously thinking about marrying someone, I don't.
Absolutely.
And what I said to her on the show is still very true. It's like I don't need someone to be Jewish, but I need someone to be open to it. To at least like even a combined religion like the Jewish Buddhist babies we talked about. Like there
I
needs to
love
be some kind
that.
of yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just that to me that felt like a real conversation
Yeah.
that two people would have if they were thinking about entering a relationship. And that like cultural specificity is something that I think historically we didn't always see on reality dating shows and on the Bachelor franchise in particular. And so to like hear you and Jen both talk about your cultures felt very poignant and powerful to me.
Yeah. And it's not just about like being Jewish or the culture. I mean, it's 2025. Like there's so many interfaith marriages, interracial marriages. I'm like, it's a
Right.
conversation that needs to be had. And also like I know people who are not Jewish who celebrate like Shabbat, who will like host Shabbat dinners. I'm like, oh, that's amazing because it really is like a family and a culture thing.
Yeah, I had a friend who used to do that in college, actually. And we were like, "Are you Jewish?" And she was like, "No, I just think it's
No,
really nice."
no, but it is. Just throw the
It
phones
is.
away. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, my kids are Jewish Catholic, so I was really touched by that conversation as well. Although they're reaching the age now where they ask questions that about God, and I'm like, oh boy, we need to get back in the planning room and figure out what we're gonna say.
Oh God.
So you didn't think that was necessarily going to air? I mean, it's true. So much has always gets left on the cutting room floor
Of
because the
course.
dates are so
Mm.
long, and so they can always cut around stuff they don't want to include. But What kind of reaction were you getting when it did air? Like, did people reach out to you about it? Like, was it mostly positive?
Yeah, it was like only positive reactions throughout the whole show, not just that conversation. So I was super appreciative of that. But I was in LA at the time when it aired, and I was stopped multiple times by like Jewish moms being like, "Oh, love the conversation you had. It's so important." And that means a lot.
That's
Aw.
really nice. Sweet. That's so sweet. I like
Yeah,
that people came
it's
up
really
to you in
sweet.
person.
Yeah.
In-person interactions are so much nicer than internet ones.
Yeah, as long as they're not weird about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there are boundaries
Yeah.
also. So anyone who's listening, please respect people's boundaries.
I do appreciate all of it though.
Yeah, and especially like they're used to seeing reality TV stars in this way where you're kind of performing life for them. And so
Mm.
there you are in real life doing it and they just want to watch you and like be like, "Hey."
It's like, oh, it's
Right.
Jeremy, but he's on the L train. Like, what's he doing?
Yeah, aren't we all just on the L train?
Always.
So something that we had heard through the grapevine was that a Seder was filmed during your hometown date. But then that did not seem to make the final edit. Can you tell us, did that happen?
That did not happen. That was an idea thrown around.
Okay.
Because of the timing.
The
It was
timing,
right
yes.
around Passover. Actually, might have fallen during Passover. Um, that was actually my idea, and it was talked about, but I think it would have been very hard to execute, especially I have a big family, and that would have been
Sure.
one like
Mhm.
hard on production and two insanely overwhelming to Jen. So I think I'm glad we did not do that. I'm very
Fair
glad
enough.
we went to Stu Leonard's instead, but the Seder was thrown around.
I mean, Stu Leonard's that was just a lot
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
look at.
a lot. It was
A
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I feel like you ended up with a lot of grocery shopping dates. Looking
You
back, do you wish that you had done something on one of your dates that involved less grocery shopping? Or were you like,
Um,
no, I love grocery
You're like,
shopping.
this
This
is
is
my
where I want to
niche.
be.
So while I'm glad you picked up on that. I don't think a lot of people do, but it was also part of my hometown was that it was a complete joke. So when we were in Melbourne, a group date, we went to a market, and then my one-on-one was at a market. So I'm like, all right, if you gave me two markets, I'm giving you a market.
Yeah, you're like, 3 makes a trend. This is a
Yeah.
New York Times style piece
Yeah.
now, baby.
It'll be a weirder market, but I'm gonna take you to a grocery store. So yeah, it was
Okay,
that,
I like this. I'm glad we know this factoid.
but also
now.
it was part of joke, but also you go grocery shopping with your girlfriend, your wife in real life. Like I wanna know what a normal day is like.
At Stu Leonard's.
That's to Leonard's.
And you
Yeah.
Where
ran
you
into
do
your
weekly
aunt,
shopping.
That
right?
yes, and for anyone, and I've obviously listened to podcasts and seen like recaps and stuff. That was not at all planned.
I
That
think
was
that
a
we said that we thought it was not
It
planned
did not seem
because
planned. Because she wasn't
you both
mic'd.
seemed so shocked and she wasn't mic'd.
I thought I was like dreaming because I was I was literally feeding Jen a lobster roll, spooning hot butter. It was dripping down the side of her face, and I look out behind her and I see my aunt there. I'm like, no way. It was complete coincidence.
It's perfect.
So at the end of the season, after everything that happened with Jen's season, you were sort of inadvertently brought into the drama a little bit
Mm.
after the final rose. Devin and Jen were going through their breakup. You were apparently out partying with Devin and Maria in New York.
Mm-mm.
And this,
Wait, just before you even finish, for
Yes,
the record,
please.
those were separate.
separate.
They've never
Okay,
met.
sorry. Clubbing with Devin and clubbing with Jen with Maria were separate.
Completely
Yeah.
separate.
These things can get like kind of fuzzy because it's like, is everyone just not in the picture? Or were these separate events? Okay, so that's very important clarity. And so there was this awkward sense of like, who knew what Devin was up to and what was he up to? What was your understanding of what was going on at the time?
Yeah, so I even before that night that me and Devin were out, I actually didn't know exactly how things went down because we weren't really supposed to talk to each
Sure,
other. Sorry,
right.
ABC. But even he was like I didn't know exactly how it went down. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm coming to New York. Like, let's meet up." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm getting a table at this club." I said, "Oh, I don't really want to do that." He's like, "No, no, no, just come by." So I went there. I think people think that I know a lot more than I did at the time. Truthfully, all I knew is that they were engaged and then they broke up and he had been single for a little bit. But I didn't know like anything that like truly went down.
Right. So you knew that their relationship status was not together, but you didn't know like whose choice that had been or how they had left things, like on what terms or any of that.
Yeah. So obviously I'm gonna see this guy who I haven't seen since our time on the show, and we're gonna go out, and he's in my city, so we went out. And that was really the extent of it. And then I got invited to the finale. Little did I know it, I would have a little stray shot right at me from Jen. But it's all good.
Did you ever talk with her about it?
No, no, we never talked about it.
Have you guys been like in touch at all since The Bachelor, Bachelorette?
No, we follow each other on social media now, but that's really the extent of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
But I'm
tough way
happy
for it
for
to
her.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no,
that's
like
tough. I mean, it
No.
obviously it sucks, but like she's
Yeah.
obviously doing great things now, Dancing with the Stars, and if she may or
Yes.
may not be dating Sasha, who knows?
I know
yeah.
we're
She doesn't want
all
us to be too
wondering.
clear about that.
Yeah, it's fine. I respect it.
Are you in touch with anyone else from the season? Are you in touch with Devin still?
I don't talk to Devin as much. I still like to check in. Just we all went through this experience together. He's obviously been going through stuff, so I do check in. The guys who I talk to the most, I talk to Hakeem like every day.
Oh,
Love
I
Hakeem.
love
love
that.
him. We love him.
I'm in touch with Austin a lot, Spencer, Jonathan. I'm gonna see Grant tomorrow.
Oh,
Um,
really?
Oh, that's
yeah,
exciting.
no, it's
Yeah.
I mean you go through this experience that no one, even past Bachelor contestants, they've been through a similar thing, but no one goes through the exact experience. So um, you just have
Yeah.
a bond with these people for life.
Of
Yeah.
course, it's such an odd and specific experience.
Hmm.
And like, I completely understand why that would really bond you with the people you went through that with, even if they weren't necessarily people that you would have like become super close with
Hmm.
in your daily life. Were you aware that Devin was recently out clubbing, posing with a Jen ain't it sign?
Yeah, I saw that after. I
How glad were you to not be at that
That
clubbing
club.
event?
Unless you were
Unless
off
you
camera.
wished.
I
Yeah.
I was not. I did. I did text him about that. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Excuse my
Mm.
French. And he was like, I promise you that I didn't do that. Someone sent it to our table. I was like, dude, just like quality control.
Yeah. That's how you get in trouble
Yes.
with those signs. Like anyone can produce the sign, but once you're holding the sign, that's
Yeah,
all
Next to the
anyone's
sign
gonna
and
know.
under the
Yeah.
sign. Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
distance yourself from that. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you were not present for
I,
that.
I was not
Good.
present.
It seems like the way the whole end of the season went down, like, must have affected the social dynamic. Like, sometimes you just get to show up and smile and be like, we're so happy for the lead and the person they ended up with. And it ended in this sort of messy way. Do you feel like that threw a wrench in the cohesiveness of the group, or you guys really moved through it well?
It definitely throws a wrench. It definitely affects some things. The finale specifically, like me, Jonathan, Dylan, and Hakeem were there. None of us actually knew how it went down. So you may or may not remember, but like in the beginning, we're kind of like showing support. I'm like, oh, I'm here to support Jen. I'm here to support Devin. I'm here to support Marcus. And people are like, fuck you, Jeremy. How are you supporting them? I'm like, dude, I didn't know what happened. Like I'm seeing it live with you guys too. It's crazy.
And then you're just like Homer Simpsoning, like backing out through the
I'm
hedges.
I'm
Yeah.
just a guy on the L train. Like, stop.
Yeah. So you're saying that when you hang out with these guys, you aren't immediately doing a deep dive, blow by blow, on everything that's happened in all of their relationships. I can't relate to that.
No, especially in that case, no. When you're meeting out at a club, that is not
Yeah,
what
no, it's
happens.
not the
Yeah.
Yeah.
best setting.
No, fair.
So you mentioned some of your best friends from the show, and of course, Grant is now about to be the Bachelor, so I'm sure you've been answering a lot of questions about Grant. Now you're like in this
Hmm.
very important role of like friend of
Friend of
the
Grant.
Bachelor.
Yes,
So what
very
do you
important role.
it is like you're a source of knowledge for all of us. So what do you think we can expect to see from him as the lead?
Again, I know a lot less than you think I know, but I will say he's a great guy. He has like this quiet swag to him. A pretty philosophical guy, but he's also at the end of the day, I think he's a lover boy like I am. And hopefully he doesn't fall in love with everyone, but I do think he will find his person at the end.
Oh,
I'm
we
confident in
hope
that.
so. I feel like we
Um,
could use a happy ending.
I know.
Yeah.
I've barely seen him since filming because when we were out in LA, he was already like announced as a bachelor and he needs to do his thing. So I'm excited to see him tomorrow. And then
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
seeing him? Is he in town to do like press
so
rounds
yeah, some
preseason?
press. So
Yeah.
so he invited me out to an event tomorrow and then may or may not be with him at the actual like premiere night. So that'd be cool to see.
Oh,
That's so
See his
exciting.
fun.
reaction. But yeah,
See the
listen, I'm in store for the season just as you are. I have no idea what's gonna happen.
We're not going to try to pry because
No,
yeah, we
no.
all just want to
Yeah, we want to
experience
we want to
together.
experience it organically. We're very excited. But from knowing Grant, what
Hmm.
kind of woman do you think that he's looking for? Like what qualities do you think that he is looking for in a partner?
I think he'll want someone who's not afraid to like show their heart on their sleeve. He kind of did that in our season, and you know, rather early on was like pretty confessive to us about his love for Jen. Um, and he's a mature guy. He's been in long relationships. I know he's ready for that, so I think he needs someone who will reciprocate that. Like a little behind the scenes info, like they are very long days and they're doing them back to back. And I was on another podcast and I mentioned this how Grant is a big napper. I roomed with him in New Zealand and the dude is always asleep. And after he was announced as a bachelor, I called him and I'm like, how are you going to do this? Like you need to be up like 18 hours a day.
Yeah, that's horrible. Wouldn't work for me.
Couldn't work for me. I need
You
my
know,
8 hours.
I think this is the reason that they so often cast people who are under 30. It's
Yeah,
just
they can
like
handle.
And
once
They
he
can
is
handle
not.
the
once
long
you enter your
hours.
30s, they're like, you
It's
need
nap time.
naps.
It is nap time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that Grant has gone through already. I hope he's recovered already from this experience because as a big sleeper, that sounds
I
grueling.
think so. You've seen the pictures. He looks good. No bags under his eyes. Like
Yeah,
he's
I know.
Listen, we've all seen Grant.
Yeah.
we've all seen. We
We've
know what
seen
he
him.
looks
We
like.
know.
We know he's looking good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was watching live on New Year's Eve when he appeared on my screen, and I was like, "Whoa, excuse
Yeah.
me, you look well
Good looking
rested."
dude. There's an athlete for you guy. There's a basketball player.
He is
Yeah.
he's giving athlete.
Yes.
Yeah, it seems very central. All of the women seem very aware that they
Mhm.
are there to date an athlete.
Yes.
So one thing before we wrap up that I had really wanted to ask you about was your style, because on the show you really made a mark with your unique outfits, especially your knitwear
A
and
lot of good knits.
a lot of good knits. And modern men's sweaters are often so limp and boring, and you had these like wonderful lofty textured sweaters and jackets, sort of like Harry in that scene with the white cable knit sweater and When Harry Met
Oh.
Sally. Where do you
Classic
get your
style.
sweaters? How
Yeah,
can
this
we
is a
get
public
sweaters like this?
service announcement for men, straight men out there.
First off, I appreciate that. I do. Especially because like on the show, you can't wear like everything you want. Like you still need to like dress a certain way, whether it's a date or a group date. Could be from anywhere. Some of the stuff I wore on the show were actually from my grandfather. Like I had this,
Oh.
You know
yeah,
what?
my
This makes sense.
grandpa had great style. The green, I have this like green jacket in my one-on-one in Seattle. That's like decades old from him, from Paul Stewart. Um, but it could be from anywhere. The green knit sweater I wore on the nighttime portion of my one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up like the day before at Zara in Seattle. So it could really be anywhere in between.
Wow, you really are mixing the vintage with the Zara.
Yeah.
Like that's like
Look,
the heroine
Zara
of a
has
rom-com.
really good stuff, actually. They have stepped it up in the last few years.
You know who I'm a huge fan of? Abercrombie. That is not my high
Yes.
school Abercrombie.
No, okay. I have been saying this for years. Like
You sound
around
just like
COVID,
Emma.
Abercrombie made a comeback, and it was really for like all millennials who were traumatized by
Mhm.
Abercrombie when they were young. And now Abercrombie is like our friend.
My hoodies in the show are from Abercrombie.
Great stuff.
I've like, so I used to be like a broker and wear suits every day. I have like a million suits, like custom tailored suits. The suit I wore at Tell All, which is like a chocolate double-breasted suit, was from Abercrombie. Off the rack.
Oh,
Abercrombie, if you're listening.
Yeah. Sponsor
I have
Jeremy.
no shame asking for a brand deal. I don't do
Send
any brand deals.
Jeremy
Send it
a
back.
PR package right now.
yeah. This is
Yes.
you're the one brand he wants.
It literally. Big fan of. So,
Oh.
yeah.
That
Okay,
is
another
very
thing we
helpful.
had to ask you about is that we saw you met Charles L. of
Yes.
Golden Bachelorette fame.
Yes, yes,
I mean, he's
yes.
a star. We're huge fans. How did that meeting come about? What was that making a TikTok with him experience like? Is he as great as we believe him to be?
Yeah, he's a great guy. He really is. I think people loved him because, oh, it's cute, it's Charles, but he's like a really very smart guy, genuine guy. It came about John Baresh from Charity Season lives in New York. Me and him have gotten close, and I think he was in contact with Charles' daughter, and he was like, yeah, you want to go get dinner and film some TikToks? I was like, yeah, let's do it.
So cute.
But yeah, he's a really good guy. Super smart. He's done very well in business. I think he just day trades for fun now. But I love
love
meeting
that.
him.
I mean, I don't think that you can have like the sharp sense of humor that he clearly had on the show and not be super smart.
I
Like
agree.
like almost everything he said had like a double meaning to it. He
Mhm,
was
mhm.
cracking deadpan jokes the whole time.
He knew what
It
he
was
was
so
doing.
delightful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Charles
was
L.
great.
And it
Shout
sounds
out
like
Charles.
sorry, John B and Charles L's daughter are
No, not like that. I think not.
okay.
She-
I just
You're like,
have to. I was like, you're just throwing that out there. I
you
need to
guys
You're like,
love
"Let's
confirm.
follow
starting
up."
rumors, don't you?
No, I wanted to actually
Clearing up
specifically
a
follow
rumor.
up.
Yeah.
No, she essentially like controls his social media because
Got
why
it.
would
Got
he
it.
do
Yeah.
he has
Boomer
better things to do.
dads.
So
I,
fun
need
fact,
help.
I need a child to be old enough to control my social media.
yeah, so I think she had reached out to John or someone, and then he looped me in. But this is a fun fact about Charles. I don't know if it's still the case, but when we met, which was post his season airing, he never watched his season.
He never watched.
Really?
No, which I respect
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I get that. I find it excruciating to listen to my own voice. It's
Well-
just, it sounds
I
a
will-
little different than it does in your head,
Mhm.
and it's weird.
It's weird.
I will listen to this podcast once when it comes out and never go back to it.
That's
Not because
fair,
of
and
you
we
guys.
are
Thank you.
honored.
We appreciate the listen.
Yeah, the one listen, we will really appreciate
But
it.
I hope everyone else listens every day as like
Yeah.
Yeah,
your
fall
alarm
asleep
clock.
to it if you want.
Fall
You know,
asleep.
just put it on a loop.
Yeah.
Are you open to going on Paradise? We hear the beach is opening back up.
Heard it is open. Am I open to Paradise? I genuinely, I haven't thought too much about it. It's a long time away. I'm not going to put just being transparent, I'm not going to put my life on hold for it. That being said, if the time comes, if I'm single, if some of my friends are going to be there, yeah, why wouldn't I do it? But like, if I'm seeing someone, I'm not just going to like end that to go on Paradise, you know?
I mean,
Wow, that really makes
that's-
you stand out.
Yeah, it's
That's something
unusual.
that happens a lot.
or you could just like put it on hold. You know, no, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
So are you still single these days? How are your DMs? Have they slowed down at all since
Yeah,
the show
thank God
aired?
they've slowed down. Too many Jewish moms.
It was a lot of I would like to set you up with my daughter.
Oh, it was a lot of that. Yeah, no, I wasn't dating for a while. I've started to pick that back up again just because I'm a 30-year-old living in New York. Would love to meet someone. So yeah, definitely started dating again. So we'll see how that goes.
Well,
And
we
you're
love
back.
that.
Are you back to like your normal life otherwise, like your job and everything, or are you like plotting special projects to catapult yourself into, another career off the springboard
No,
of The Bachelorette?
maybe I'm stupid for that, but I really haven't done any of that. It's been business as usual since like mid-May, with the exception of like people stopping me when they see me. But life's been very, very normal.
That's kind of a nice mix. You
And
like
you
are
got to go to some,
grounded.
yeah, and you got to go to some like fun events. And lucky enough, I'm in New York, which is a big city, so I'll get to see Grant tomorrow and do stuff like that. But overall, it's been pretty normal, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah,
That's nice.
normal with a side of really fun events. That's like a
Yes,
very good place to be at.
I couldn't agree more. I love free stuff.
I mean, who doesn't?
I love when
Things
people send me
taste
free
better
stuff.
and like fit better when
Oh
they are
yeah.
free.
Yeah, if Abercrombie just wants to send a rack of their new drop every
hmm
season for you to pick over, who
I'll
would
send
say
my
no?
address immediately.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today. We've been longing to have you on for a very long time, so this was so fun and exciting for us.
No, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's really high expectations, though. Hopefully, people enjoy the episode.
We hope so too. No, it's been a real delight to meet you virtually, and maybe we will run into you, around our fair shared city.
All right, thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.